A Christian Women's Guide. Chapter 1. Christian Woman Guide. A woman's roles. The woman respects her husband as the head of the household, is obedient to her husband's wishes, submits herself to her husband, has reverence for her husband, loves her husband, is discreet, is chaste and virtuous, is a good housekeeper, is a good, compassionate person, is faithful and patient, is able to handle herself with others, is an independent, liberated person, is a dignified person. The good woman is modest and virtuous. Who is a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubles. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant's ships, she brings food from afar. She rises while it's dark and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She looks at a field and buys it, with the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. She sees to it that her merchandise is good, her candle stays bright by night. She lays her hands to the spindle and her hands hold the distaff. She stretches out her hand to the poor, yes, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She's not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sits among the elders in the land. She makes fine linen and sells it, and delivers girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looks well to the ways of her household and doesn't eat in the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excellest them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31:10-31. The Christian Woman, Pro View. Service to the husband as stated in Ephesians 5:24 does not imply being his slave but to serve him righteously as his helper in his job to run the household. It begins with the attitude of helping him rather than being preoccupied with self-centered desires. 1 Peter 3:4 says that the unfading loveliness of a calm and gentle spirit is very precious in the eyes of God. A good wife in the Christian sense is not a doormat, but she is also not in her husband's face nagging about what has he done for her lately. You do things for your husband because you want to be part of his world and enjoy it with him. A wise wife doesn't argue. She wants peace around the house. She discusses things with her husband without making blatant demands. A good wife talks less and listens more. Christian women should be positive people in general. They should have the qualities described in another section about how to be a lady: graceful, nice, poised, uncontroversial, simple in a virtuous way, uncomplicated, pretty, supportive of the husband, be the one who takes the lead in getting a conversation going with the husband sometimes, be a woman of action in trying to make everything nice, be happy, take care of her looks and health, dress well, be loving, have children, be a good mother and don't put too much pressure on the husband. Stay beautiful for your husband by taking care of herself as she ages. Proverbs 31:10-31 essentially describes the ideal Christian woman. This comes from an older version of the Bible, perhaps a more modern version in the vernacular will appeal to you better. In a nutshell, the Christian woman has the following characteristics. The number indicates the passage in Proverbs 31. Trustworthy, 10. Virtuous, 11. Industrious, 13, 14, 28. Generous, kind, 15. Wise, 16, 27. Strong, 17. Compassionate, 19. Dignified, 28. Loves God, 30. Proverbs 3:1.org. The Christian woman, negative view. A view states that Christianity is misogynistic. Eve is looked upon as the evil one between her and Adam. Women are commanded to accept an inferior role. Here are a few misogynistic biblical passages. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. Ephesians 5:22-23. These redeemed are they which were not defiled with women. Revelation 14:4. How then can man be justified with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Job 25:4. Look these ones up. Colossians 3:18. 1 Peter 3:7. 1 Corinthians 11:3, 11:9 and 14:34, and 4. 1 Timothy 2:11-12 and 5:5-6. Numbers 5:20-22. Leviticus 12:2-5 and 15:17-33. Women were treated as property in the Christian nations until recently. They had no political rights and their right to own property was severely restricted. Men weren't prosecuted for beating their wives until the last 30 years. Exodus 22:18 says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Because of this, thousands of women were killed as witches. There is still no female clergy in the Catholic Church. Christian women in the Bible. Even though it's not politically correct, I will obey you as long as your request is reasonable. Recent wedding vow. Better to live out in the desert than with a nagging, complaining wife. Proverbs 21:19. I found something more bitter than death, the woman who is like a trap. The love she offers you will catch you like a net, and her arms around you will hold you like a chain. A man who pleases God can get away, but she will catch the sinner. Ecclesiastes 7:26. And the wife see that she reverence her husband. Ephesians 5:33. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She looks well to the ways of her household, and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excel them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own work praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31:25-31. You wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that if they obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the behavior of the wives, when they behold the purity and reverence of your conduct. Do not adorn yourselves outwardly by braiding your hair and by wearing gold, or by putting on clothing. Rather, let your adornment be the inner self of the heart, which never decays, the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is of much value in the sight of God. Be like the holy women of ages past, who trusted in God and adorned themselves by being subject to their own husbands. 1 Peter 3:1-7. This kind of wife will do her husband good and not evil all the days of her life. Proverbs 31. Who is a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubles. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant's ships, she brings food from afar. She rises while it's dark and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She looks at a field and buys it, with the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. She sees to it that her merchandise is good, her candle stays bright by night. She lays her hands to the spindle and her hands hold the distaff. She stretches out her hand to the poor, yes, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She's not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sits among the elders in the land. She makes fine linen and sells it, and delivers girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looks well to the ways of her household, and doesn't eat in the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excellest them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31:10-31. No man is poor who has a godly mother. Abe Lincoln. A gracious woman retains honor. Proverbs 11:16. Every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish plucks it down with her hands. Proverbs 14:1. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, he said unto mother, Woman, behold your son. Then said he to the disciple, Behold your mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. John 19:25-27. Chapter 2. The Virtuous Woman. The virtuous woman as defined by the Bible is mostly Proverbs 31:10-31. Some guy on a TV talk show was asked why he wasn't interested in dating a certain pop star. He said the book of Proverbs in the Bible defines the virtuous woman as humble and serious-minded, as opposed to frivolous. The host shut up after that. He didn't know what to say. Proverbs 31:10-31. 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. 11. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. 12. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. 13. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. 14. She is like the merchant's ships, she bringeth her food from afar. 15. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. 16. She considereth a field and buyeth it, with the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. 17. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. 18. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. 19. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. 20. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. 21. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. 22. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. 23. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. 24. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. 25. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. 26. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. 27. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. 28. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. 29. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. 30. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. 31. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. King James Version, KJV. Other Bible verses about a virtuous woman. 1 Peter 3:1, Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that, if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives. 1 Peter 3:7, Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. 1 Timothy 2:9-10, In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array. 2 Peter 1:3, according as his divine power hath given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that hath called us to glory and virtue. Don't complain. Philippians 2:14-15 Do everything without complaining or arguing. Then you will be innocent and without any wrong. You will be God's children without fault. But you are living with crooked and mean people all around you, among whom you shine like stars in the dark world. Ecclesiastes 7:28, which I am still seeking but have not found. I have found one man among 1,000, but I have not found a woman among all these. Ephesians 5:23-30 Because the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. And he is the Savior of the body, which is the church. As the church yields to Christ, so you wives should yield to your husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it to make it belong to God. Christ used the word to make the church clean by washing it with water. He died so that he could give the church to himself like a bride in all her beauty. He died so that the church could be pure and without fault, with no evil or sin or any other wrong thing in it. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as they love their own bodies. The man who loves his wife loves himself. No one ever hates his own body, but feeds and takes care of it. And that is what Christ does for the church, because we are parts of his body. Genesis 2:18-24 Then the Lord God said, It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is right for him. From the ground God formed every wild animal and every bird in the sky, and he brought them to the man so the man could name them. Whatever the man called each living thing, that became its name. The man gave names to all the tame animals, to the birds in the sky and to all the wild animals. But Adam did not find a helper that was right for him. So the Lord God caused the man to sleep very deeply, and while he was asleep, God removed one of the man's ribs. Then God closed up the man's skin at the place where he took the rib. The Lord God used the rib from the man to make a woman, and then he brought the woman to the man. And the man said, Now, this is someone whose bones came from my bones, whose body came from my body. I will call her woman, because she was taken out of man. So a man will leave his father and mother and be united with his wife, and the two will become one body. Luke 1:26-33 In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, Greetings, you who are highly favored, the Lord is with you. Mary was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, Do not be afraid, Mary, you have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever, his kingdom will never end. Matthew 6:19-21 Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Modesty, true beauty comes from within. 1 Peter 3:1-6 Likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives, when they see your respectful and pure conduct. Do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and the putting on of gold jewelry, or the clothing you wear, but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. For this is how the holy women who hoped in God used to adorn themselves, by submitting to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. No laziness. Titus 2:3-5 Older women likewise are to exhibit behavior fitting for those who are holy, not slandering, not slaves to excessive drinking, but teaching what is good. In this way they will train the younger women to love their husbands, to love their children, to be self-controlled, pure, fulfilling their duties at home, kind, being subject to their own husbands, so that the message of God may not be discredited. Parenting. Proverbs 22:6 Teach children in a way that fits their needs, and even when they are old, they will not leave the right path. Philippians 4:8 Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Philippians 2:2-4 Fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Proverbs 19:14 House and wealth are an inheritance from fathers, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. Proverbs 14:1 The wise woman builds her house, but the foolish tears it down with her own hands. Proverbs 18:22 He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Proverbs 11:16 A kind-hearted woman gains honor, but ruthless men gain only wealth. Proverbs 12:4 A noble wife is the crown of her husband, but the wife who acts shamefully is like rottenness in his bones. Proverbs 12:4 An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who shames him is like rottenness in his bones. Proverbs 3:15 She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire compares with her. Proverbs 8:11 For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. Proverbs 21:9 It is better to live on a corner of the housetop than in a house in company with a quarrelsome wife. Proverbs 19:14 House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and a prudent wife is from the Lord. Proverbs 12:4 A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. Proverbs 21:9 It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop, than with a brawling woman in a wide house. Psalm 127:3-5 Children are a gift from the Lord, they are a reward from him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them! He will not be put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gates. Ruth 3:11 Now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you whatever you ask, for all my people in the city know that you are a woman of excellence. Ruth 3:11 And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. Titus 2:3-5 The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things. Virtuous woman. Ruth 3:7-12 After his evening meal, Boaz felt good and went to sleep lying beside the pile of grain. Ruth went to him quietly and lifted the cover from his feet and lay down. About midnight Boaz was startled and rolled over. There was a woman lying near his feet. Boaz asked, Who are you? She said, I am Ruth, your servant girl. Spread your cover over me, because you are a relative who is supposed to take care of me. Then Boaz said, The Lord bless you, my daughter. This act of kindness is greater than the kindness you showed to Naomi in the beginning. You didn't look for a young man to marry, either rich or poor. Now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do everything you ask, because all the people in our town know you are a good woman. It is true that I am a relative who is to take care of you, but you have a closer relative than I. Is the modern definition of a good woman upside down? The Bible says that immoral people are lovers of themselves. Timothy 3:2 KJV. King James Bible Online.org/2-Timothy-3-2. 2 For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. 3 Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. 4 Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. This is why I avoid the capitalist, pop culture world as much as I can. I know I have to earn a living out there, but I don't have to sell my soul to it. Look at the Entertainment Network, MTV, and all the frivolous women's websites geared for fashion, style, celebrity gossip, etc. You can watch The View and many other like-minded shows on any given day, and this is what they're showing us as cool women: loud-mouthed, empty, vain vessels hooked on fashion and gossip. If you're a good woman just trying to be yourself, you're somehow not cool because you don't color your hair or pile the makeup on. A good woman gets up early to work for the home, the children, and the husband. Some good women work a job then come home to put a home-cooked meal on the table. This is why this thing we have called welfare or social assistance is bad, because it creates lazy bums who feel entitled to a free life. Beauty is fleeting. There are many beautiful young women who age and then don't look attractive. If they have bad personalities, too bad for them. Sex appeal doesn't make a good woman. If a woman is lazy, she's no good. A good woman is brave, strong, and bold because of Christ in her. A good woman is a helper and partner to her spouse, a hard-working mother to her children, a giving woman to her community, an income earner for her family, a cook, a clean, well-dressed, wholesome woman, a selfless, tireless lady, a woman who prepares for disaster, an encourager, respectful of her husband. Don't commit adultery. Don't be jealous of anyone. Don't strive for the empty things of this world. When you have the Spirit of God, you have joy. You want to please your family. You want to be a good wife. Virtuous Woman websites. BibleReasons.com/virtuous-woman. Bible.knowing-jesus.com/topics/virtuous-woman. KingJamesBibleOnline.org. The Virtuous Woman, Middletown Bible Church. middletownbiblechurch.org/homefam/prov31.htm. womeninscripture.com/the-31-virtuous-woman. BibleGateway.com/passage/?search == Proverbs 31:10-31. jimfeeney.org/virtuous-woman-eyes-god.html. openbible.info/topics/the_virtuous_woman. Proverbs 3:1 businesswomen.com/Proverbs-3:1-woman-Bible-study-day 2. Chapter 3. The Modesty Factor, Natural vs. Sleaze. Self-exploitation, sleaze vs. Wholesome beauty. Which are you? Artificial vs. Natural. Phony vs. Real. Pop culture clone vs. Being your real self. I think the biggest mistake a lot of young girls and even older women make in their quest for a man is that they think that all that stuff in cosmetics commercials, frivolous women's magazines, the so-called fashion industry, the cult of celebrity and manufactured pop stars is cool, happening stuff, and they try to imitate it, but they got it all wrong because it's all fake, pretense, outer glitter, the phony outside covering. It has nothing to do with the substance of the individual on the inside. Real men don't adore girls unless they're worth it, and I'm not talking worth it in the stupid hair coloring commercial cliché which implies that you color your hair because you value yourself as worth it, when the truth is that women or men who are really worth it and know within themselves that they are wise, enlightened, noble people are much too focused on things that really matter in life to do something so outwardly vain and frivolous as color their hair. Nobody who is a truly cool person would ever color their hair, because a truly cool person is happy with themselves, the way their God created them. They would never do anything this crass and tacky. Men of substance are not fooled by fakes. Men are basic meat and potatoes. They would rather have you be straight than be cute, because cuteness is elitist, manipulative and frivolous. Be real with guys in a substantive way and your true beauty will shine through. Most men, except for the few who might read GQ and a few superficial guys who might want a cosmetic boobed, bleach blonde trophy girl, are natural and real. That's what they want and that's what they believe in as the feminine ideal of a beautiful girl both on the inside and the outside. When you put on all that crap to enhance your look and color your hair, plenty of guys will be attracted to you for the wrong reasons. They will think you're funky and happening and have the loose morals to go with it because you're covering yourself with all that stuff which is synonymous with trying to be a liberated, modern contemporary Jezebel, which implies a casual, go girl, promiscuous attitude towards sex. Guys will want to have sex with you, a transient pseudo-love relationship, but for real love, they want somebody real, beautiful, and natural enough not to need that stuff to be who she is. 2 passages out of the Bible spell it out, the passage about the virtuous wife in the earlier Christian section and the one from Proverbs 15:13, joyful heart makes a beautiful face. If you cake too much makeup on, it just looks fake, like a put on, but if you're a naturally nice, beautiful person, it shows all over because you have that glow about you that says you respect your life enough to try to do something positive and worthy with it, not just sit around trying to look pretty and trendy. Sure, all guys are dogs and gentlemen at the same time. They will play along with a superficial trendy girl to get her into bed, but when they see the real thing, they will rise to the occasion. There are 2 things men feel about the girl they want to be with. 1, they'd be proud to be with her in public because of the way she carries herself, not because of her clothes and makeup. 2, they want her to have their children. I was brought up around free people living their own lives, being themselves. The greatest rule in our unspoken code was be real, don't be fake, because we won't buy it and you will just end up looking like a fool when you try to be somebody you're not. Be the way God created you. The cosmetic, clothing, jewelry and entertainment industries have a vested interest in putting forth a phony illusion of glamour so a lot of stupid girls can think it's cool and trendy and try to imitate it by spending their hard-earned money and time trying to develop this aura about themselves, but it's all a lie. There's no such thing as glamour, or if there is, it's a synonym for being fake and frivolous in an effort to look cool and fashionable, but it's an oxymoron because when you're consciously trying to be like this, you look like an idiot for being that shallow that you devote that much energy to your look when the world is so much more substantial than this. There are kids starving somewhere and you're worried about trying to look cool. There are no special people around living in some special zone of glamour where they're pouting, posing, and sashaying around looking and feeling more special and cooler than the rest of the population. Special feelings come from hard-inspired effort working at being who you really are. This gives you feelings of transcendence, not trying to be trendy in a superficial way. This is how enlightened people think. This is what being real is all about. Real people don't buy into the lie of a glamour world. If you own more than 6 pair of shoes, you're a lost soul. Not that I'm a great catch or anything, my life is irrelevant to this book. I'm trying to tell you the way it really works from a man's point of view, which a lot of girls seem to miss based on how many I see with that tacky superficial exterior. The less makeup you put on your face, the less blatant jewelry you wear, the less expensive fashionable clothes you wear in favor of simple, nice ones, and the closer your hair color is to the color you were born with, the more real and natural you will be, which means the more likely you will meet a worthy guy of character who will appreciate you as you really are. You can be a lady, dress nice, put a bit of makeup on, some subtle earrings, just don't cross that line into the frivolous, trashy, sleazy, teen queen, pop star, bubbly cosmetics commercial vibe. It's so fake that it's disgusting, not beautiful. It's a business where the cosmetics and clothing industries are blatantly insulting you by implying that you're a one-dimensional airhead whose only worth is that superficial outer wrapping. Betty Page, Natural Beauty, Every Man's Dream. Beauty without vanity is every man's dream, but rare in a pop culture society where vain people are put on pedestals as with models, pop stars, TV actors, and movie stars. Then we, the plebeians, are told that these are the advanced, cool, fascinating people on the planet and we must worship them and aspire to be like them. During the 50s, Betty Page was a model who would pose at so-called camera clubs where men would go to allegedly take pictures of women models to learn the art of photography, but it was really all about sexual pictures, which is why so many of her pictures have survived and are now memorialized in several books. She became the pin-up queen of what were the forerunner of modern-day porno magazines, pin-up magazines with partial nudity such as iFool, Tab, Dare, Girls and Gags, Sunbathing, Wink, Bold, Voo, Tease and Movie Star News, some of the images of which are still available through companies specializing in early porn. She was in Playboy in January, 1956. There are books out there full of photos glorifying Betty Page, even a CD-ROM with a bunch of her photos and clips from her movie Teaserama. She had almost a cult following, as evident by a TV show about her Network did on their True Hollywood Story series. Some politicians wanting to get re-elected started hearings against pornography in 1955, which destroyed Betty's and her photographer's career. Irving Klaw. Many men who were boys then and had their first erotic experiences thinking about her are now buying her pin-ups all over again. Of course, their version of porn back then is considered just partial nudity shots today. Karen Essex wrote a biography about Miss Page. The modern-day comic book The Rocketeer was inspired by Betty Page and has her in it as a major character. Artists have painted pictures of her from photos which are out there somewhere. There have been songs written in homage to her because of her combination naughtiness, niceness, free-spiritedness, wholesomeness, joy, and the unself-conscious, free natural look about her which is almost unknown these days, which is why so many men are still attracted to her, because she represents a truly beautiful natural woman with a free, fun, uncomplicated manner about herself. It's the natural purity thing. It's rare to be pure but fun and open to sexuality because it's nature. The problem these days is that every girl claims to be like this, but a vast majority of them are brainwashed clones, living by the pop culture, frivolous women's magazines, corporate beauty product ideology, with very few girls being who they really are away from all that stuff. If you don't believe me, see how many girls want to be models or actresses and how many go to boy band concerts thinking it's the greatest thing since the crucifixion of the enlightened master. If you take a good look at Betty's body, she looks buxom, her legs are big, she has some fat on her and her tits are kinda small, but it doesn't matter. She has a kind of primal vivaciousness and healthy, natural, as opposed to fake bubbly preppy valley girl choreographed, love of life to her that men are attracted to. If you're a woman and wanna be sexy in a natural wholesome way, take a lesson from Betty Page. Don't color your hair and pile on the makeup, just take care of your health and be natural, curious about life and vivacious. Modesty, a lost virtue? How can you love someone else or care for them when you're always concerned with your look? TV show kept. Where is the girl being herself, doing her own thing away from the brainwash of frivolous women's magazines? A modest wife has endless charm, it is a quality too precious to measure. Song of Solomon 26:15. Girls should be quiet and modest. Jane Austen, character Mary Crawford in Mansfield Park, 1814. When men are looking for true love, they're looking for a humble kind of beauty with a feminine softness, not the loud, so-called outgoing adventurous type who's a pop culture clone trying to imitate what she sees on TV, portraying the so-called cool babe, somebody loud, what they call bubbly, with that frivolous, advanced vibe, seemingly so sure of herself, which is all a cover to the real person if, in fact, there is a real person underneath all those layers of cultural brainwash. Just look at the covers of frivolous women's magazines for that pouty, fashionable look, then know that any girl you come across that has that cosmetic, trend-setting look might be good for a season or a fling because she's dumb and naive trying to act cool, which makes for relatively easy pickings, but as a lifetime partner, forget it. As a kid growing up in a moderately conservative town in the 60s, good girls were the ones who dressed nicely but not flamboyantly and stayed virgins until marriage. Any girl who made porno movies was considered the lowliest in society, but in today's world, if you don't dress like the latest teen pop star striking a pose on the cover of any frivolous woman's magazine with that stupid, seductive look on your face, and if you're a virgin, You're considered uncool, not to mention that any girl who made a porno film as recently as 10 years ago was ashamed that she sold her dignity for a bit of money and didn't want anyone to know about it, as opposed to today, where they're lined up by the thousands to make them and openly promote themselves on TV, the internet, and at adult industry conventions. There is a loss of innocence in modern society, with the images portraying a young cool girl and even older ones as vampy sleazy types supposedly with an open mind who wear lots of makeup, diet themselves to extreme thinness and wear the tightest, latest fashions while they get cosmetic surgery to augment their breasts and color their hair with those skanky roots showing through. The business machine of the so-called beauty industries have implanted this mindset into society, brainwashing many women into thinking it's the cool, happening, in vogue image of what they should be, just like many are brainwashed to imitate a Barbie doll. So what we got is a lot of women imitating this fake cool vain image which other girls see, so they think it must be cool, then they imitate it, and pretty soon you got a bunch of empty-headed clones running around with those skanky roots showing through, acting like some frivolous vamp in a TV commercial, and guys start to wonder if there are any real women of substance left out there with minds of their own, not brainwashed by all this external crap. True beauty is in the soul. It's got nothing to do with outer wrapping, except that if you do it, it shows you're trying to change yourself via superficial means, which means you don't have a beautiful soul, because if you did, you'd accept yourself as is, concern yourself with things that matter, and wouldn't bother with these superficial things. Modesty doesn't mean plainness or ugliness. It means focusing on your natural beauty as a human being rather than focusing on all that outer crap out there like makeup, jewelry, fashions, etc. Modesty to me means a girl who has common sense, who is sensible, someone who thinks something like me, which is a typical man. I'm concerned with function, practicality, how to better my life and maybe even help the world. I have a general disdain for frivolous, pop culture things in light of all the problems and need in the world. If I was looking for a wife, I would need a girl with a soul like this, someone who was aware of what was really going on in the world, someone who is trying to better herself every day, both for her and for the world in general. I have contempt for people who live in little bubbles of pop culture entertainment and frivolous women's magazines and don't seem to realize all the pain, suffering and need there is out there while they own over 300 pair of shoes, which I've encountered twice in my life, women who actually own more than 300 pair of shoes and maybe 50 or more purses to go along with it. How could I ever love somebody that vain and frivolous? The Muslims take it too far, insisting that women be subservient to men and cover everything up except for their eyes in public, but there should be a middle ground that goes between the sexual revolution of the 60s and the dearth of sexuality right after the AIDS scare, somewhere on the character scale between a nun and a painted-up Jezebel. I can't stand self-centered bitches flaunting themselves thinking they're all that. I wouldn't waste my time, even for the possibility of sex. For casual sex, I'd rather find an unpretentious fun girl who likes to catch a buzz and have a good time rather than one of these high and mighty pop culture trendy types who thinks she deserves to be taken care of forever by some rich guy because she thinks she's way worth it, all that and a bag o' chips. Some people say anorexia, self-mutilation and all those other things are the result of a girl's confusion about her sexuality. She hates herself because she's not sexy enough as defined by the culture. Then on the other hand, she feels guilty and ashamed for cheapening herself trying to act sexy, so she's a mess, turning to self-destructive behaviors to deal with it. Society wants you to be a vamp and a lady all at the same time, judging from all the mixed signals we constantly get all across the board from all different sectors. People who make a living from sex, like the ones who write magazines or the ones who make TV shows using an open sexual atmosphere, generally put out the attitude that modest people are sexually repressed, that they really want sex but are holding themselves back, whereas the truth is that it's a free society where anything goes. If you choose to be modest, you don't have to be made to feel guilty and prudish by a liberal media which uses sex as its bread and butter to sell itself. And they got all these phony experts on TV, supposedly liberal sex educators, going into the schools treating private subjects as if they were the most casual things in the world. Then we wonder why kids go off doing all kinds of sexual things like having babies too young, date rape, sexual harassment, fondling unwilling volunteers in public, etc. It's because they got these permissive attitudes from certain elements of the mainstream culture. Modesty in women is a virtue. It's not repressing sex in response to unhealthy feelings of guilt or shame, it's having a sense of decency and an implicit inner standard as to what's comfortable and dignified around other people. It's not wearing a dress with the cleavage hanging out to try to attract attention to yourself or saying inappropriate lewd things in public. It's not wearing shorts such that you have to constantly pull down because they're hugging up to the cheeks, as I've seen with girls at the gym. How can you work out when you're self-conscious of that all the time? I saw some guy kick some girls out of his restaurant because they were wearing thongs, which might be sexy, but they belong in a secluded place among mature people, not out in public in a family area. There's such a thing as going too far with abandoning standards of decency. I thought people find it uncomfortable when their clothing gets stuck up the cracks of their butt, but the brainwashing effect of society has thongs as a fashion statement regardless of how uncomfortable. Modesty is being pleasant, non-controversial, not attracting excessive sexual attention to yourself by wearing overly tight, skimpy clothes. It's not about inappropriate seductive looks or sexy talk with people you don't know very well. That goes too far. Men, being the sexual creatures they are, will be attracted to sexy vampy girls for their look to appease their sexual desires, but at the end of the day, when all is said and done, they will reject these vain outer-focused glamour girls and look for a true companion who will be there when the glitter wears off, somebody of substance who they can talk to, bring home to show their mother and be with on a real level. They will want the stupid brainwashed girl preoccupied with the outer look and cool image for sex but not for marriage material. As far as I know, every major religion has rules about women being modest, and the school does a pretty good job of teaching women to be nice, humble people, but the media more than makes up for it with the ripple effect of peer pressure taking hold, such that a lot of young girls converge to the image put forth by the entertainment industry, music videos, and frivolous women's magazines, destroying whatever innocence and wholesome values there may be inside of them. And then we got some show on the Women's Network about makeovers, where they go in, color a girl's hair, give her a new hairstyle, put some makeup on her, give her a new dress, and she says she feels so beautiful, like a real woman, when the truth is that she's still the same her, absolutely nothing has changed in her soul. It's a big lie. I'm not pro-prude nor pro-vamp. There's a middle-of-the-road approach. Some people say you should ask yourself if your father or your God would approve before you do something. I say you have an implicit standard of decency within yourself. Sometimes, for curiosity's sake, you cross the line to experiment with life, but you know inherently whether something is right or wrong. Sex in private between two lovers may be fine, but it generally doesn't feel right in a group setting as with an orgy. I'm sure the people making porno movies don't feel right inside while they're going at it in front of the camera. It's just that they sold their souls for the money. Live by the standard you feel inside. You know when you're doing something that's not really right. As a hedonist with a conservative upbringing, I believe in both facets of life, to have my pleasure in a free, discreet way with people I'm comfortable with, but don't flaunt myself acting like trailer trash in public. We're all good and bad, puritanical and slutty at different times in our lives. I'm a hedonist, but to see me out in public, you'd never know. I never betray myself by dressing inappropriately or acting inappropriately. Regardless of what I think in my head or do in private, discreet settings, when I go out in public, I'm always a non-controversial, neutral face, because I feel that I have no right to impose my values on anyone else nor make them feel uncomfortable by my dress or demeanor. People think because I've written a sex book that reads downright slutty in parts that I must look like some degenerate pervert, but I look like I could fit in anywhere. I never bring attention to myself by trying to act extra sexy or cool out in public. Most of us want sexual fun with good-looking frivolous people for a while, but want true love with someone we can relate to. So if you act vampy and all, you will attract men who will like your boobs and your sexy outer vibe, but when you peel it all away, you got an ordinary human being just like everyone else. And if you've got nothing to offer but that outer sexy vibe, not true warmth, substance, and sincerity, forget it. Smart, On the level, guys generally won't stay with an empty-headed sexy vamp constantly worried about her sexy look. Maybe a dumb superficial guy will, but a real guy looking for somebody real won't. From a cultural point of view, modesty puts an invisible line between men and women as to what's acceptable. If you've got a bunch of girls sashaying around like vamps, men presume they're as horny as they are and the game is sex with no strings attached. But if a girl acts proper, respectful, and a little bit distant, it puts some space there saying she has virtue, she's not easy, and guys will back off before they think about moving in for what we might call a sexy "hey babe come on," aggressive flirting, sexual harassment or date rape. Modesty is necessary in order for romance to flourish. If there's no modesty, it's just straight out sex with no pangs of beauty or love there. Men will only respect girls who have this quality. They will be sexually attracted to the pop culture crowd but won't necessarily respect them. Modesty is announcing to the world that you're saving it for a special someone. If you're acting cool in a sexy phony way, you're basically saying with nonverbal cues that you're a liberated badass chick so cool that nothing phases you. You can be just as cavalier about sex as any guy and will often end up doing things to embarrass yourself not inherent to the real you to protect this outer facade of sexy coolness you got from Jenny, Carmen, Brittany, and all those other lost souls parading themselves in the media for the money and the transient fame. Modesty is showing other people you respect them enough to respect yourself by not flaunting yourself all over the place, thus making them feel comfortable to be with you. Modesty is girlishness in a woman, boyishness in a man. The older you get, generally the more you lose it to become jaded, cynical, secular. Up until about 40, then I've noticed a lot of the I'm all that chicks from youth start to get a bit more humble about themselves because they know they ain't the cock of the walk anymore. The hardness of the world takes its toll on almost everybody, making us a bunch of phony brainwashed people trying to act cool, beautiful and successful at the expense of everything else. Books about women's sexual ethics are at hashtag 306.7082 or HQ46 at the library. ModestyNow.evangelizers.com. Modest dress ideas from projectinspired.com/kt-style-guide-for-Christian-girls-modesty. Scripture states, in like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array. 1 Timothy 2:9. In a 2004 article, The Forgotten Virtue, Modesty in Dress, author Monsignor Charles M. Mangan lays out a guide founded upon principles of modesty set by Pope Pius XII in 1957. To dress modestly is to avoid deliberately causing sexual excitement in oneself or one's neighbor. Avoid clothes that reveal or highlight certain body parts. Bust. Avoid tight or see-through shirts or tops without appropriate undergarments and tops with low plunging necklines that reveal a cleavage. Thighs. When it comes to skirts, select those that are no shorter than above the knee. Back. Refrain from wearing backless shirts or dresses that plunge in the back. Stomach. Shirts and tops should always cover the stomach. Butt. Avoid tight skirts, shorts, dresses and pants that reveal the shape and curve of the buttocks. Clothing fulfills 3 necessary requirements: hygiene, decency, adornment. The more elegant you will be, and the more pleasing, if you dress with simplicity and discreet modesty. Pope Pius XII. If you're purchasing an item because it'll bring attention to you or attract the opposite sex, then it may be inappropriate. Style must never be a proximate occasion of sin. Pope Pius XII. tmgouet.com. Facebook.com/tmgouet. Twitter.com/tmgouet. Daddy's girl. A daddy's girl is the type of girl protected all her life with no scope of reality in the real world. Her father loves her, which is normal, but he showers her with so many things and is so overprotective of her that she grows up overdependent on him, sheltered from the real world such that she never got her feet wet, never worked for anything, was spoiled all her life, never broke a real sweat in an attempt to achieve something of substance. Cheerleading practice doesn't count because it adds nothing significantly important to the progress of the world, so as such, she's a limited human being living in a fantasy land and believes in all those fairy tales about some magical, mystical Prince Charming who she's gonna meet at college. She will leave the sorority house and move right into his mansion somewhere in the suburbs, so it will be daddy's house, sorority house, and mansion in the suburbs with no period of living on her own, trying to make her own way in the world to discover who she is away from all that stuff. Of course, this is the fantasy, but it rarely works in the real world because most guys are normal human beings working hard for a living and can't measure up to daddy's girl's high expectations, so she's doomed to never finding a guy that measures up to her father, and when she does eventually find a guy, she thinks she's higher and mightier than him on the status scale, so she uses him and makes excessive demands expecting everything to be fulfilled because she's such a special girl just like her father fulfilled all the special wishes of his special little girl. If you're a daddy's girl, if you want to get real, you have to get into the real world, get humble, work your way through college, drive a bike for a while instead of the sports car daddy bought you, move out of the sorority house into your own place and get rid of that fashion mindset, then you might get real enough to attract a real guy. You have to get over your dependence on your father and strike out on your own to live your own life. When I was a teacher at college, I came across a lot of these daddy's girls who seemed like nice enough people on the surface, but the impression I got of them was that they were superficial girls with no true tested character who wanted to meet an upstanding successful young man in college who would take care of them so they could continue on in the lifestyle they knew with daddy. They weren't very ambitious for themselves. They just looked good and stylish and thought that their looks would be enough for them to breeze through life, find them a good husband who would take care of them. This is not reality and not the way a real human being lives, even if they have enough money to be on easy street, because the only truly honorable feelings anybody gets within themselves is when they do something really tough and worthy that inspires and challenges them, and if you help others in the process, you get a double dose of self-respect from the process. Be your own person. Get over your dependence on your father, set out to live your own life, find your own mind, earn your own money and be successful on your own without help or dependence on your daddy. If you can do all that without getting jaded to the I am woman feminist philosophy and still maintain an easy way about yourself, you should attract some bona fide, rock solid, upstanding guys.